What's up guys, my name is Kevinyang, and welcome to my video on how to play Go, also known as weiqi or baduk. So for starters, what is Go? Well, Go is a board game that originated in China over 2,500 years ago, and today has garnered a player base of millions of people worldwide. It's commonly compared to other board games, such as chess, and you're one Google search away from knowing that Go is one of the hardest and most complex board games in the world, even harder than chess. Now, don't let this scare you away from actually learning the details and how to play Go, because once you learn it, you'll realize that it's really not that bad. I mean, it's in a way simpler than chess, but also in a way harder. This video is part 1 of a comprehensive guide on everything you need to know in order to play Go. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
Let's start off with the physical attributes of Go. So in Go, there are 2 players, and with 2 players, there are 2 sides. These 2 sides are black and white, as seen on the bottom of the screen here. And each piece that we have in Go is called a stone. So this is a black stone, and this is a white stone. In Go, black plays first. So black would play a move, and then white would play the second move, and the 2 players would just alternate, placing stones onto the board. The board consists of intersections, so you can think of it like a coordinate plane. On a standard board size of 19 x 19, there are 19 lines across and 19 lines down. This would mean that there are 361 intersections that you may play on in Go. There are also different sized boards, such as 13 x 13 and 9 x 9. However, these are mainly used for beginners, and if you're a beginner, I recommend you to play on 9 x 9 and slowly move up to 13 x 13 and then 19 x 19 to have the smoothest and least intimidating experience when learning Go. Next, let's move on to the basics of Go. So in Go, stones are placed on these intersections that we mentioned before. So for black, you would play on an intersection, and for white, you would do the same. As mentioned before, black and white play by alternating turns, so black plays, white plays, black plays, white plays, and so on and so forth. Notice how you can't play inside the squares, contrary to popular belief, and also you can't play in between the lines either. So if I tried to play inside the square, it will automatically go onto one of the intersections, and if I tried to play in between intersections, it'll automatically place me onto an intersection. So intersections only. In Go, each intersection adjacent, horizontally and vertically is called a liberty. So in order to understand this concept more easier, we can think of liberties as the oxygen that we breathe. So as humans, we cannot live without oxygen. So similarly, each stone on the board cannot live without liberties. These liberties do not apply to diagonal intersections. So these 4 intersections diagonal to this stone wouldn't count as liberty. So in this case, the stone would only have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just mark these liberties for better clarity. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this stone would have 4 liberties. So what happens if a stone has no more liberties? Well, you can probably already guess what will happen. If a stone has no more liberties, it is simply dead and is removed from the board. So let's say white surrounds this black stone 4 times. So remember, white cannot play 4 times in a row, so black must play somewhere else. So let's say theoretically, white were to surround black all the way. By the time this 4th liberty is taken up, black stone is removed from the board. Now in Go, each player has a bowl to hold the stones and also a lid. So once you capture this stone, you would put the stone inside your lid, or you can put it on the table. This really doesn't matter, and it's more of a preference thing. So however you would like to store your captures or your opponent's captures is fine. Captured stones are kept and saved somewhere, as mentioned before, on a lid or table, and we'll get to these captured stones later on in the video. So how can you prevent yourself from being captured like this? So this black stone just died, so how can you prevent yourself from dying? Well, essentially, once you realize that you are on your last liberty, so in this scenario, black would only have one liberty, you can simply extend, and this would form a group. So black just went from a single stone into a group. This group would have 1, 2, 3 liberties. 1, 2, 3. A group shares liberties that every stone has access to. So in this case, black went from having only one liberty to now having 3 liberties. Now, as white keeps playing and trying to capture black, black can extend again and have even more liberties. This time, 1, 2, 3, 4 liberties. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 liberties. Now, theoretically, white could keep trying to capture black, and black could just keep extending and never die, basically. But this will get more complicated as we go on in our journey in Go, and you'll soon see why this isn't the case where black can keep extending and never die. Alright, so at this point you may be wondering, we're placing all these stones on the board, black after white, black after white. What exactly is the goal of this complex game? Well, the goal of Go is to obtain more territory than your opponents. Now, what do I mean by that? Here's an example. So, in Go, we know there are intersections, right? And we know that we can place stones on these intersections, but if we do not place stones on these intersections, then it'll be considered a point. And for it to be considered a point, we must surround this intersection in a reasonably secure manner with your own stones. So, here's an example. Let's say I was black here. Then, if I were to have a area of the board surrounded with my own stones, of course, how many points would black have here in this scenario? Well, it's a simple matter of multiplication. Since points are defined as intersections, well, we can just simply count out the number of intersections. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. We can use multiplication here to see that this is 12 points. Pretty easy, right? Now, you may be wondering, what about the captured stones from before? Let's say some point in the game, you captured one of your opponent's stones, and you've probably saved it somewhere on the table, or maybe even your own lid. Well, captured stones at the end of the game deduct from your opponent's points. So let's say you have 2 captured stones, and the game is over. Your opponent has this patch of territory. Well, you would simply place those 2 stones inside your opponent's territory to deduct their points. So for example, let's say you were playing as white and I was playing as black, and you captured 2 of my stones. So in this scenario, when the game is over, you would put those 2 stones inside of my territory. So let's say 1 here and 1 here. How many points would I have now? Well, obviously I would have less points, right? Because these 2 stones are taking up 2 spaces inside my own territory. Remember, these two stones are the ones that were captured and are now being put into my territory to deduct my points. So this is the penalty for losing stones. Now how many points does black have? Well, black has 9 points now. 3 times 3 is 9, and, oh my bad, it's 10 points. 3 times 3 is 9, and plus 1 is 10. So, at the end of the day, it's just whoever has the most points wins. Well, if you've been thinking about the rules of the game for a while, you might be wondering, is it really fair for black to play first and white to play second? Like, is everything really balanced? Well, the answer to this question is no, it isn't balanced. So black actually gets the advantage to play first. And this is why black must give white a compensation of 7.5 points at the end of the game in the counting process to compensate for this advantage in playing first. The 0.5 points is basically used as a tiebreaker. So there's no way to actually obtain half a point on the board physically. So the 0.5 would serve as a tiebreaker in the case there is a tie. Now, this compensation could vary, and it depends on the rules you're playing by, but usually it is just either 6.5 or 7.5 points. So how do we end the game? Well, at the end of the game, when there's no place reasonable to move, players can decide to pass, and if both players pass, then the game is over. We'll follow this up with some examples, so don't worry if this is going a little too fast.
Alright, so for this next part, I'm going to show you an example of how to actually count a finished game and what specific things to do in order to get the score and the end result of the game. So it's always better to see examples of stuff actually happening rather than just listening to it, because examples always help. So let's get into it. First of all, we can see that there is nowhere to play. So in this case, white and black have to mutually pass. So it is black's turn right now, and if black were to pass, black would just put a stone into white's pool, and then white would say, okay, there's nowhere else to go either for me. So white would also pass and give black a stone. So in this scenario, the game is over and it's time to count. So the first thing you do in this situation is you take each side's captures and you put them into your opponent's territories. So these are black's captures, so black will put them into white's territory to fill these spaces up. So one by one. Fill each space up with your captures from your opponent. And you can put them anywhere. There's no specific place where you have to put the captures. And we'll do the same for black. So in this scenario, you can see that most of the time, black, that there will be more territory for both sides. But in this case, since it is a 9x9 board and there are so many captures, both sides will not have that many points. So you can, in this situation, you can just manually count the points. Black has 1, 2, 3. White has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 63 points. And black also has to compensate for white playing first. And this is usually in the form of 5.5 points for a 9x9. So I know I said 7.5 points usually, but for a 9x9 board, it is usually 5.5 points, given how small the board is. So white's 6 points plus 5.5 is 11.5, and black only has 3 points. So in this case, white would win by 8.5 points. Pretty simple, right? So it's not overly complicated, and there are further details in the counting process that we'll go over, but that'll be in the next part. Alrighty guys, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video, learned something new, and found it somewhat understandable, but it gets easier along the way. For those of you guys who want some extra resources on how to play Go, I'll link it down below in the description, so make sure to check that out. And yeah, I guess you could say this is my first official YouTube video. So if you guys have any suggestions or advice on how I can improve my video quality and just overall content, then please let me know. Let me know in the comments. And I'm recording this after a tennis game, but it's fine. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Got a super bad bitch, feel like Jonah Hill. Look at how she walk, and you know it's real. No question, if she like attention, I gotta give it to her, yeah, you know the deal. I'm a boss, I swipe that for you. Girl, you look good, you top 10, amazing. Spark a new flame, I like that for you. Yeah. Tell me what you want, I like that too, baby.
Treat my hoes like the plugins on this damn song. I cracked them all. You know I love it when